What up, world, and welcome to another episode of The Bright Side Show, where we talk about all things marriage and family from a realistic point of view, but a bright side point of view. I am your host, Steph, and I'm here with my lovely co-host and wife, Crystal. How are you doing today?
I am great. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Good.
Awesome.
And today we have two very special guests in the building. We have my lovely cousin, Courtney. How are you today, Courtney?
I'm doing really well today.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And then with her, we have my main man, my dog, Cell Dope in the building.
What's going on, baby?
Oh, he turned it on. He
You
turned
ready?
it on,
Listen, the past is the past. We moving forward, you know?
But no, we appreciate y'all coming through today. We've been talking about it, and I think on the show, like I said, we've had like family, we've had marriage, and so today is dedicated to the single people.
So they are not a relationship. Let's make it clear.
Yeah, we made not clarifying that last time.
To
Don't
the
want
singles.
nothing misconstrued.
Yeah, they're two singles
Yes,
apart
talking about
from each
their
other.
experience.
Yes. But I felt the need that we kind of needed to get into that because, especially with I think the conversation around relationships, especially when people talk about it from a marriage standpoint, they kind of skip all of the stuff that it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Like we kind of just jump straight to like, oh, you should be married, but it's like, what are the steps to get you there? Or like the reality is that people are dating, and dating is very different than I think even from when we were dating.
Mm-hmm.
And especially people older, like it's completely different, and it especially with technology and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Or
So I would wonder, and I guess like ask y'all, like what is the dating scene like today?
For 2023.
For 2023, for
Lord.
people in their early 30, 31 years old, like early 30s, which
I'm
is
29, so I wouldn't be able to speak to that.
you're 30.
You're
You're 30, okay?
Hey, just blow
Listen.
up my spot. Fine, I'll speak to the 30s. What is dating like in 2023? I think it's a little bit of the old and a lot of the new. So, like you said, technology plays a huge role. I think nowadays you have all types of apps. You can meet people through DMs. You can slide me a number, like all like that type of stuff. So, and then you can still go out and you meet people. Not well, in my experience, not that often.
right.
I think a lot of dating for me has been digital, and I think that's really the main difference. Like that's what dating is. Like it's not abnormal to find people on a dating app.
Right.
Whereas like back in the day, like not even back in the day, but like maybe like 3-4 years ago, before COVID, you'll tell like a older person like, oh yeah, I'm on the apps, and they're like, oh my god,
Right.
Right.
You're like scared to tell your family that.
Exactly. Like, whereas like you might want to hide, like, yeah, I met this guy online,
Right.
and it was like a, oh my god, like first 48 type of thing. But like today is like, yeah, like I met him on the app, like, and it's just like, you know what I mean,
It's
like
more
it's not,
acceptable now.
exactly, it's not that much stigma, I think.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, I don't think the apps are as negative now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if COVID had any, because since you
I
brought
never
up
put it,
COVID, like everything had to really kind of be virtual. And so that might be why it's like not so taboo these days. It's like that was just like life. Like if you're gonna meet anybody, it had to be virtual.
Right. Because everybody was online. Like, you know what I mean? Like you work online. Now you meet online. So it's like it's not that strange to date online anymore.
Yeah, you still gotta watch out for them weirdos.
I mean, people weird.
That has not changed.
People won't be weird no matter what.
Right.
Like niggas be weird, so that's
I mean, you could get a little glimpse of it through their bio, though. Like, you know, what to watch out for.
But people be lying.
Sometimes
People be lying. Yeah.
Do you think most people with now, I guess, dating being more acceptable, that is like on apps and stuff, are people more I guess, are people being more honest in their like bios and stuff than maybe would have been before, or is it still like, nah, let me like just basically cap you up real quick? And
I think Instagram is a bit, you know, the lying might go on there, but I think dating apps, they try to sell yourself a little bit more, so they try to be a little bit more honest. You know, it's like a resume. You know, they're going to say use a little bit of the choice words to make it seem to buff themselves up a little bit.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
And sometimes you just can't hide who you are. Like no matter how hard you try, like it's like for me, like it's like keywords that I look for. Like if you say this one thing, I'm like, I'm kind of giving you a side eye.
Yeah.
I do think people lie, particularly about their height. It's one of those things. Like, you put in your bio that you 6'10", and then I'm looking at your picture and I'm like, you're not taller than this mic stand. So it's like
they were smart though.
You know what I mean? Like
they would change the angle of the camera.
Exactly. Like know your angles if you wanna.
If you gonna lie,
you gonna hype it up a little bit.
Right?
Get your angles correct. But yeah, I mean, it's keywords and statements you can look for to see if like it's cat.
That makes sense. So I guess with y'all are outside, y'all in the streets.
Oh,
in the streets is crazy.
Not,
but all right.
I'm sorry.
I'm on the sidewalk.
y'all being out there, being like in the mix, and I feel like there's so many like nonsensical conversations happening on like Instagram and stuff right now.
Mm-hmm.
Does that like? How do you navigate, like, or like people actually in dating right now? Do they really be like kind of like on that tip of like one extreme where it's like, say you got people like, oh, like, well, if a woman is not, what's called seeing a nigga, if a woman's not cleaning my house, if she sees something dirty, then she's not woman enough. Or then you got like the other end of the spectrum of like niggas just being like super, like I don't know, like simpy, and they be like, yeah, like I call you my foundation because you found me when I was lost in the nation.
No.
Like saying crazy like how do people out there really be kind of like on that tip, or is that really just something that they keep on social media?
I feel like that's just on social media. People ain't talking like that, bro.
Man,
like especially like that, like they're lying. Like you might say all this stuff on Instagram, and I want a woman to do this, and you turn around and you see them slapping a girl outside in the club. Like, they motherfuckers be lying, bro. Yes. Like I be like, that nigga ain't like that. Like, dog, I know you, bro. You never took a girl out on a date ever, but you want here talking about you need to, court a woman and do things like that. Like,
fraud.
Yeah, like you. Well, I guess that's where you said the lying part comes in.
Yeah,
it's like I'm gonna reel you in, but take that mask off once you really know me, right?
I think people portray who they want to be, but they ain't there yet.
Exactly. Like I think people will definitely like slide it in on the low. Like I think they're not saying I want well, I guess I'm talking about men right now. I want a wife that's going to stay home and cook and clean for me. Like they're not saying that.
Right.
What they're saying is, oh, I want somebody that's submissive. All right. So now what does that mean? Now we got to talk about that. Or they'll say, this is one I've seen a lot. I like a woman that's feminine. Okay. What does that mean? You know what I mean? Right. I think, and instead of just saying something that will make them sound bad or that will make them sound like we in the 1960s, they'll just throw out some key phrases that are like, oh, I like women. That's just my preference, and stuff like that. And they'll say it without saying it.
Yeah,
I think that's just
go ahead.
I think that's just because a lot of women aren't like they hard as nails nowadays. Like you gotta break down those barriers. Like a lot of these girls got dads in their houses now. Like they're like it's not the same. Like they're a little bit different. And I think that a lot of women are used to there's a lot of women empowerment going on. So a lot of women are stronger, and I don't think a lot of men know how to take that. So like instead of like, damn, I can't get over on her, I got to really work for this, and they don't really want that. They want you to just be, I guess as they say when a lot of girls, I'm in my soft girl era. They want you to just be soft from the beginning, but a lot of girls aren't doing that from the beginning because I think a lot of women definitely know their worth now. Right. So you're not going to just get over on them any type of way,
Right. And you can't get away with the same things you've gotten away with in the past. Like you said, like we're in a day and age where we can have the same job, right? Like, that's not to say, the pay gap, doesn't exist, but you know what I mean? Like I could be your boss. And so when you come in and all you're offering is, all right, I got a stable job, I got a car, I got a house. Cool, so do I.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So, so now what? And so before, where, you might not have been, you might meet somebody that's, on the come up, or, a woman that does not have that power. And so how are you as a man, one, accepting that power? Because you can either accept it or you don't, and then you can, feel some type of way about it.
Yeah.
Or you can come genuinely with not just what you can offer.
Yeah.
Materialistically.
Right.
So, you have to come with more. And if you, unfortunately, if you don't have more, then it seems like we're hard.
What's the more? What do you think the more is?
I mean, the more is really just showing up as yourself, like offering vulnerability versus let's, let me spend money on you, right? Like, let me take you out on, all the dates. And that's not to say we don't appreciate that, and we don't want that. We do. But you can't you're not going to win me over by just providing that stuff. Like, I want to see who you are at your core.
Right.
And if you're not in a space to be vulnerable about that, or vulnerable enough to show me that, then I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Dang.
I think we're a little skeptical about just giving that up sometimes. Like, I'm not just about to be crying in front of you, baby. You know what I mean?
Well, that probably takes time, right?
Yeah.
It takes time to kind of build up that trust.
But then we have this natural thing where it's like, okay, well, shit, let me just go out. Well, I guess I got to provide. So, let me do this. And then a lot of stuff we see on Instagram, I want a man that can do this, or I can do that. So it's like, all right, how much this going to cost?
But that's kind of where I was like, I feel like most people kind of get into that, like, oh, I had to provide, because again, going back to like social media, I think that's the kind of thing that people say, like, oh, like, you have to be doing like this, that, the third, like. And I think that the reality is, I think provision looks different in every relationship, depending on like your circumstances or whatever it is. But we always like revert back to provision equals money.
Right.
And I think that is kind of where the disconnect happens. And also because I think people aren't willing to like actually have the conversations of, it looks like provision is not just money. Like, what else are you providing that's like helping stabilize like a household?
Right. But let's be fair, that's what it's been. Like that, I think that's what the definition has been for a really long time. Like, I'm looking for a provider. And for the most part, that's money, financial, right? And so unless we're, like you said, unless we're willing to talk about it and redefine what it means, because if we think about, you know what I mean, I want a provider. Most likely everybody in this room is going to interpret that as somebody that's going to be able to help me out monetarily. So like, I think as a collective, like society, I guess, like if we're going to, make it that broad, then we have to redefine what that means.
Yeah, I absolutely, because I feel like, and again, because I think there's a disconnect in the sense of like, it's like, where is the line drawn between like provision and like tricking? Like they're right next to each other. It was like, what's the point of like
tricking?
Yeah, like
tricking if you got it.
No, that is wrong. It's always tricking. Even if you got it, it's tricking. So, but like, that's the kind of thing where a nigga's like, I ain't just giving you money, because I like, and that's why I'm like, the conversation needs to be had where, because what I believe is that, not that it's there are people that probably just do want money, but I don't believe that most women are like, I'm here and you just need to like give me money to exist in this space with you, like that type of thing. Like, it's a partnership, so to speak. Like, so it's like, all right, we have a house, we both are working to build this house up, and it's not just, all right, I'm taking care of all this. But I feel like there's a fine line in like everything that I think, say a woman might say she wants, there's like a negative interpretation of it, that, and like I said, where it'd be like provision, and while that could mean money, there's going to be a group of niggas out there that's like, oh nah, that's tricking and I'm not doing that. Or like stuff like that, or like being vulnerable is like, oh, now I'm being a simp, or nah, I'm being a little punk ass nigga, like, nah, I ain't doing that. So like, I think that, and that's why I'm like, the conversation needs to be had to like interpret those things, because I feel like it looks different. And I guess the big one now is like even submission, and like, the funny thing is, like, we had this conversation in the car where I was like, I don't want to have this conversation. Like, I hate talking about it because it's nonsense to me.
I agree.
I hate talking about it, but like, even in that, everybody like looks at like submission as like, I don't know. It's like it sounds like in slavery. Like that's what you want. Like
right.
Yeah.
What you want is a maid. Okay.
Yeah, like you
say that because I think people again interpret things like that's a word that like I get like ugh. Like it's cringy to me sometimes when people use that word because they take one side of it and forget the rest of it. So like
Correct.
if we talking about like biblical wise, if you go to the Bible and women should submit to their husbands, and then we just put a period on that and we leave it there.
I'm about to say, and that's not the end
we
of
don't.
There's more to that.
There's so much more than that, right? Like it's multiple sides of things. So if we just stop at this one thing, then it's like, all right, women submit to your husbands, okay? But there's conditions on that, right? Yeah. Husbands submit to God. You know what I mean? Like it's not like if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, this is a conditional thing, and so it's like. When people say things, is a lot of times is to really fit their own narrative of what they want,
right?
And now we're just out here like requesting maid service in the form of a girlfriend or a wife or someone.
Jones indentured servitude.
Exactly.
Yes, I do hate it, and especially like I said, even I don't know, like. People again cherry picking the Bible to be like I said, wives submit to your husbands love your wives as Christ loved the church, and it's like he died for the church, and he served the church, and he was washing people's feet, and he did
right.
And if you pay close enough attention, it's like that's submission also. Like
right,
it ain't one way street. It goes back and forth. So, but again, people just say what, like you said, fits whatever they want to. Exist, which is I don't know, it's nonsense. Again, I hate it. I hate it because
I would say that's kind of like the tough part of dating. Like I don't know if you would agree, but like like when you're dating is you have to take into account like this person and their beliefs, and then you have your own beliefs. And the hard part about dating is how to mix and mingle, how to get around, how to get to know. Like it's a lot of like pieces that you're trying to fit together, and sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, compromise ain't easy.
That's a fact.
Because it's like I just met you. I'm not about to just start giving up stuff. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to be stop going to my friend's house every Saturday? I'm not doing that. Like, but like, but if you want to be with this person, and you got to make time for that. Make time for them.
Right.
And, do the things that they kind of need you to do if you're interested in pursuing them. But also you got to be upfront from the beginning too. If you're like, yo, listen, I just want somebody to go out to eat with every Thursday, and I might see you on Saturdays, and I'm going to call you, but I'm not going to call you till after 12 a.m. when I've been drinking. Like, you got to really like set those boundaries with them from the beginning to make things easier to digest.
Yeah. So I say, I guess in y'all personal experience, what's been like the biggest hurdle in like dating and like finding like that common ground with the people?
Myself, I think it's kind of hard to date when you don't feel like you're like, oh, I got myself together, because you're never going to be able to be vulnerable or submit or compromise if you're not feeling at whole, with yourself.
Yeah.
So I know for me, it's just been like, damn, I should have not dated that girl, or I shouldn't have did this and that. I definitely wasted her time, but I had to reflect back and know that it was me. Like it wasn't her, it was me. So it was like kind of knowing like what you need to do for yourself to be, comfortable, because you can't give somebody everything you have if you don't have anything for yourself.
Okay.
That's deep. That's deep. I think for me, which it's interesting to hear your perspective, right? Like you're a guy, and it's nice to hear it, because for me, it's finding someone who is either going through that process of sort of like figuring out who they want to be, what they want, what are their intentions to date? Are their intentions to date to be married? Are there, you know what I mean? Like dating, it serves different purposes, right? Like you can date, like you said, to just say, hey, I want some companionship. Like I want somebody to go out with, right?
Yeah.
And again, that's where communication comes in, where it's like, that's fine if the other person knows that, right?
Yeah.
And then dating to be in a relationship, cool. Dating with the end goal of marriage. Not every person wants marriage, right? So finding somebody that's not just like dating just because I want a relationship, but all right, so now we're taking another step. I'm dating because at the end of the day, I want marriage.
Right.
And so like you have all these different layers, and finding people's sort of true intentions, I would say, has been a difficult part. And to Cell's point of that communication, I think the communication also has to come through not just saying it, but actions.
Yeah.
And so you can say, you know what I mean? We communicate through body language, like we communicate through what we say, what we do. So if you're telling me, all right, I'm just here for fun. Like I just want to go out on a date and be that.
Right.
Cool, keep it that way. But if you said that to me at the beginning, but now I'm meeting your mom, and now, you know what I mean, we hanging out every day, and you come to me, and I'm like, all right, it seems like your actions are telling me
like it's more than
something,
that.
But your words in the beginning. So sometimes I think people use that as a cop-out. It's like, well, I told you from jump that I wasn't interested in that.
Right.
But everything else told me something different.
Right.
And so it's like, just because your words said it, if your actions didn't match it, you know what I mean? Like, how am I supposed to interpret that? And it's one of those things where it's like, you're responsible for yourself, right? Like you're responsible to hold yourself accountable and to protect yourself. But also the other person is accountable to their actions, right? So like when you say set boundaries are for yourself, not for other people. You can't set boundaries for other people.
Right.
So when you say, I'm setting a boundary that we're only going to go out on Saturdays and we're only going to, see each other once a week, then that's for you to uphold, right? So, you know what I mean? Like, all right, if she call you on Monday, you know what? It's not Saturday. You know what I mean? Like the boundaries are for you. And a lot of times people don't see it that way. A lot of times people say, well, just because you interpreted that, we went out Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night, I don't know why you would interpret that as something more.
Right. I said it just saying.
I said it. You know what I mean? But if you break your boundary and say, now we've been hanging out all week, then it's not a boundary anymore.
Yeah, I think that's valid. Because just like you said, something you say in the beginning might not be the same thing a few months from now.
Yeah.
I know this girl, she does she told me she does 6 months check-ins. So she's dating somebody, like she checks in. If it lasts that long, she checks in every 6 months, like, yo, we got to revisit this to see what's going on.
Okay.
Like, this has been going on. Are we still doing this? Or are we
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's kind of.
I love that.
That's kind of cool.
That is such a great idea.
Yeah.
Whoever this person is, kudos to you. Like, you are way
you know who you are.
the game.
Clamp it up.
It's like a contract renewal where it's like you gotta come. Like, are you still hitting all these things?
Yeah, like you gotta reassess because people change, and it's like you have to have that conversation again. Like you might have, maybe they were honest up front with what their expectations are. You're not going to talk about that again. Then it's like, what are we doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, that is now hearing it back, like, because I definitely used well, I told you this before, like that's wrong.
I told you from jump.
Right.
Yeah.
And 6 months actually might be a long time. Maybe like
3
every
months.
every quarter.
Quarterly reports.
Quarterly reports. No, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair because people, like you said, people change. People's intentions change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I was interested in the opposite way. Maybe I was interested in a long-term situation. Now something changed about me, and now I'm not.
Right.
I have to communicate that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that people are allowed to change, but when you do the right thing to do would be to communicate that to that other person. And I think I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think a lot of times, even for myself, like the communication aspect is difficult. Like it's difficult for me to talk about the hard things. Like it's difficult for me to approach different subjects. And like knowing that, I try harder. And then but if you're not really focused on communication or if you don't really see communication as a strong suit, or if you don't see it as vital in dating, then you might not think it's appropriate, or you might not think it's a big deal to not do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think communication, I mean, that's like probably one of like the biggest struggle points for any like relationship, even like dating. And in my opinion, it's probably because that having to be vulnerable, that's probably the source of it. It was like why people struggle. It's like you really have to put yourself out there with the risk of like getting hurt.
Right.
So it's like that would prevent you from communicating probably things that you should, things in your mind. You're like, I know I should say this, but let me hold on this.
Right.
Yeah, I think at first I was going to say men, but I guess I'll just make it, since you said like, men and women probably feel this way. Because if I'm vulnerable to you and you weaponize that against me, that's like damn, really?
Now like now we
and it's like I don't want this to happen again. Or you throw something back in my face that I said before.
Right.
And I'm like, then I was like whole crying when I told you that you going like use that against me. Like that's not fair.
Right.
But I think that, it happens to, to both parties. I think it happens to men and women. So I think that's why we all have a hard time opening up or giving somebody, that small piece, because you don't know their intentions on how they're going to, use that against you.
For sure.
Right. And that's probably the scary part of dating, I guess, is like, because you don't, at least someone that you like don't know. It's you're like putting your trust into someone that you just like, like a stranger.
Right. Yeah. But I feel like all that goes kind of like back to probably like how you're raised and like the culture in which you're brought up in. Because I'll say like for us, where like it was hard for me to ever even say like, oh, like what my emotions were, because in no part of my family, like mom's side, dad's side, nobody was just saying how they feel. It might be like you might see the reaction of how they feel, where it's like, I don't feel like talking. I'm not telling you why I don't feel like talking. It's not like because like, oh, I'm sad and I don't feel like talking. I'm mad and I don't feel like talking. All you feel is like, man, I ain't trying to talk about it. And it's left at that. So now you grow up kind of taking on those same behaviors, and it's like, even like as your wife saying like, oh, like what's going on? It's like, yeah, I'm cool. And it's like, I'm not cool, but I'm cool enough that I'm not going to talk about it, and I don't like want to have all the things that might come along with opening up, because I'm not trained to do that. So I feel like a lot of it goes back to, like I said, how we were
raised,
how we're raised, and
part of it
what do we see like growing up. And so I say like, from like your families of origin, I say, do you think that like, I guess your family dynamics made it easier or harder to like date going in? Because I say for me, I know it was harder. Again, you being in the family know that like it was a lot of just kind of like I ain't gonna put nobody on spot, but you know, whereas like we kind of just
you sweep things under the rug.
Yeah.
Pull that rug out when
shit go bad.
Stuff hits the fan.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I think, and even to your point, like I just want to add on to what you were saying in terms of like when if I'm mad and I'm just gonna ignore. I'm gonna keep it to myself, right?
Yeah.
And on the other side of that, like when you're dating, like when that happens, I will say that leaves the door for the other person to interpret it however they want, right? Like if you're upset for any reason, it could have nothing to do with me,
right?
But if you are to yourself, quiet, ignore my calls. Now I'm like, oh man, like he ghosted me. You know what I mean? Like we're on the other side of that. Like you're left to interpret it however you interpret it, and how you interpret it. It really falls on like how you are and like how you have grown up. Like I may, if I'm somebody that maybe struggled with some insecurities in the past, then I might interpret it as like abandonment, right? And so, whereas you just mad because you got into a fender bender. Now I'm over here like, oh my god, what did I do? My goodness, I shouldn't have sent that text. Like, right. And this one of those things like that again. That's another difficult part in dating, where it's like you said, where upbringing comes in, past experiences come in, and you're left to, that's where that communication, and it's like, yeah, you've been taught to not express your emotions. Great. But then on the other end, whoever you're dating, they're like,
just in the dark. Right.
Now I'm just left to interpret things just however I want to interpret them, and sometimes they're it doesn't help.
Right.
And as a overthinker myself, man, I'll come up with 1,000 different scenarios. Then ultimately I'm like, nah, it's not me. Like I'll end up where it's like, nah, it's you. Like it's not me. But yeah,
I don't think my family made it too hard. It was more of a, because I have a pretty loving family. Like when people come into my family, they don't be like leaving and shit. It'd be like weird. No, I'm serious. Like we got exes coming through. Like they still calling.
Yeah.
Coming to family like dinners, and like people exes still be like communicating. Like I ain't gonna get.
And there's like no kids, no reason for the ex to really be there.
No reason to be there. You hear me? Like
so they can just pull up and their exes at the table.
Yes.
Wow.
Like it's like people come. So we have a very loving family.
Yeah.
And it's like people like come in, like they don't leave. So I'm very like conscious about who I bring to meet my family.
They gonna be there for a while.
Man, you stuck. And it's not because we forcing you, because they want, like you naturally just want to, just want to be there.
Yeah.
So, but we weren't big on, I guess nobody was at the time, we weren't really big on like mental health stuff like that. So I had to deal with a lot of that on my own. So when I got older and like, I had to go with therapy and stuff like that, and I come back and I'm just like, you was the problem. You was the problem. You said this to me when I was 7. I remember that shit. Like, I had to like bring a lot of that to the table to them, and we just like kind of like, not to say hash it out, but we talked about everybody. It's like an eye opener.
Yeah.
And then I'm letting them know like, well, I'm not doing this because you're triggering my anxiety.
Right.
And so it's like, I kind of changed the, the dynamic of that, and that kind of made it easier for me, stepping into a relationship and, still learning about it, but it kind of like, I kind of changed the narrative with my family, because we're all so loving and happy. Like you said, everything just gets swept under the rug, and we don't even open the rug back up. It just keep piling. Like, So
you're just tripping over it. Like all the stuff that's under the rug.
So it's just like, it's just strange, but my family's they're pretty all right. So I think it helped me out a little bit. Not too bad.
So as for like marriage, like what was your perspective growing up? Like, did you want to be married based on like what you saw in your family, or?
Yeah, I thought I was supposed to be married. Like I was like, I'm going to be married by 25 and have this and that. Wrong as shit. But like my mom, she, her and my dad got divorced probably. I don't even remember. I just remember it was funny because he just was like, yeah, I don't live here no more. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Wow. Like as a kid, it's just like, you don't know what that means. But then right after that, not right after, but like my mom and my stepdad now, they've been married for like, they've been together since I was in 3rd grade. I'm 31. So they've been together since I was like, 8, 7? Yeah. So, and then my sister got married at 26, which is probably why I thought I'm going to be married at 26. So the two closest women to me have been married for a large portion of, my life. So I always thought like, oh, I'm supposed to, get married and do this and that. And so it definitely played a large part.
Yeah. For me, definitely. Yeah. Like my parents grew up in a 2-parent household. My parents are still married. 34, I would say. Dang, I sound bad. 34. I mean, that I don't know, but 30 plus years. They've been married all my life. So, and my parents, they got married young. Yeah. And so like maybe they might have been like 21 or so, something around that age. And so growing up, like you said, I was like, all right, 25. I even gave myself a little buffer, like in between when they got married. I'm like, all right, I got the 4 years. I'm gonna like travel the world in that 4 years, and then at 25, I'm gonna get married, start having my kid. By 30, I'm gonna have my kid. Like all those plans.
When your birthday?
Like, Libra. But so yeah, that definitely played a role. Like I always knew like this is what family looks like to me, and that's what I've wanted. I mean, that's still what I want.
Right.
That I want that core family. I want a 2-parent household. I want children. I want marriage, and you know, a lot. I would say my parents, they had a pretty healthy marriage, and like I've seen that, and so that's what I want. Yeah. And so, yeah, your plans versus reality.
Right.
Yeah.
But now, expectations versus reality.
Fact.
So since you like kind of set that expectation, well, both of you kind of had this expectation, like when I get to this age, you know, I'm going to be married, or I'm going to have these kids. So by not reaching that at this point, like, do you feel a sense of like disappointment, or did you, or are you kind of feeling like, you know what, things will happen, you know, when they need to happen?
I don't want to say I felt disappointed. It was just like, well,
right.
Yeah, like, all right, cool. Right. Like, and then I work with children, so that kind of changed my point of view. Like, I'm not trying to teach and come home to kids. Like, nah, son. So, yeah, so I just been kind of just finding my own way in my own lane. And, you know, I love my nieces and nephews. Watch you see you, just give them back. Like, you know, just stuff like that. Got godchildren. So it's definitely wasn't too much of a damper on me. Especially when I was like seeing that I wanted to find my own journey, self-journey. It was like, it'll happen when it happened.
Yeah. Right.
Like, I ain't tripping on it.
Yeah. That's good. I just look back and I'm like, dang, you were so naive. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, as a 30-year-old now, like looking back on it, like there's no way I could have known. What even getting to the point of marriage or getting to the point of having kids, like there's no way I could have known that when I was making these predictions. It was just me being naive. Now, that's not to say that, you know, now it's different with women. We kind of have a time clock. So it's like, that's one of the things that as a woman you have in the back of your mind. And it's something that I'm starting to think about a lot. And so, which I think has caused me to become more serious and intentional about how I date.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably the opposite. Once I seen, was it Robert De Niro?
Oh yeah, 77.
I was like, I'm good. I got a little bit of
You did. At his old age?
Imagine.
Yeah. Oh wow.
He made Al Pacino.
And I also want to acknowledge your growth, because at the beginning of this, you didn't say you were 30, and now you're saying that you're 30. So this is a good show. You know, we're progressing.
Yeah, we're progressing. Come on, bro.
I said, did you have a plan of like when you wanted to?
No, I mean, I didn't. And then like just growing up, I didn't even really have like marriage as like an example, at least not in my like immediate family. So, I mean, I knew that I wanted to like get married one day, but I never really like put much thought into it. Like by this age, I'm gonna be this or that. It was just kind of like, you know, I hope one day I'll get to, you know, be a wife and a mom. But other than that, yeah.
Oh, then Steph came along.
And I didn't even think we would get married as like quick as we did. It was just kind of like, I mean, it'll happen when it happens. I never would want to like be in a relationship where it's like I'm just like a girlfriend for 10 years. Like, but I never also had like a very serious relationship where I would have to have those thoughts yet.
Right.
So
prior to Steph,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I probably had like one serious relationship prior to Steph. And now it didn't really count because that was like high school. But, I mean, it counts, but it's life experience.
You know, the older you get, the more mature, the more wisdom.
You stumbled upon a real nigga.
I cannot.
I don't want to go somewhere. I love my cousin.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess when I think about it, it was like, I think kind of on the same thing where I was like, if I got married, it's like cool, but I think because of like family dynamics, I'm like, realistically, if I just get like a cool girlfriend and we have like kids together and she's a cool baby mom, like I'm like, that's like fine, because like at the time you look at like people around you, like, well, it seems like they're okay having this dynamic. If I could get that, then I'm straight.
Yeah.
So, I think that, like I said, I didn't know until I guess where it's like, all right, when things are going well, it's for us, and it's like, all right, I see this needs to happen. Like,
let me put a ring on it.
Yeah, it's like, all right, let me
lock her down.
Lock it down.
Yeah, let me Let me close the door to the streets. We both gonna
get her
be,
in the house.
Yeah, we both gonna be inside. But that's I don't think I didn't think about that. Like I really didn't think I had like a plan or anything like that. And especially like even looking back, I guess I feel like I'm glad I didn't have a plan because I would have disappointed myself regardless.
Right. I mean, you can plan all you want. Though.
Yeah,
mean that it's gonna happen.
All
So,
you want, but if it ain't God's time, it ain't happening.
But they say we make plans and God laughs. So I would say in this space, I would say, do you think that and I guess going from where you started having it, now being like crossing into like the 30s, and I think sometimes it can look like it's a new era just because like it's a new decade of life. Is there anything that you look back on, like let's say in your 20s, where you like I could have done this different to prepare myself for like where I'm at now and things of that nature? And I ask that because I mean, granted, everything happens for a reason, but I look back at myself and it's like, again, kind of like going back to I think culturally in general, I think it's kind of like, as a man, you are kind of like just like expected to be like sleeping with like a bunch of women. And I look at it as like, I signed on for that too. And it's like, dang, like but I realized like, dang, like I probably would have rather not did that. And just kind of like, all right, let me go find like whoever I'm gonna be with the rest of my life and just kind of fall into that because that brings on a whole nother set of like problems. So I'll say like, are there things that you like look back and it's like, dang, I wish I would have better prepared myself in this way?
A couple things. So for me, like I said, I thought I was going to be married by 25. Right. So looking back on sort of that dating journey or, dating while in my 20s, I wish I would not have been trying to find my husband in my 20s, right? Like if I'm in terms of like you said, you men are told, oh, you know, just go have your fun in your 20s, right? Women aren't told that. Like we're not told that. We're told to be ready. When he comes, you got to be ready for it. And so putting that pressure on myself in terms of like looking, all right, I'm looking for this. I have this like checklist that I'm looking for. And I kind of I followed it to an extent. And I wish that I wasn't doing that. Like I wish that I was dating more for fun. Like I wish that I wasn't looking to find my husband in my 20s because he wasn't looking for me. You know what I mean? Like he was doing his thing, and the whole time I'm over here like, alrighty, let's put these things in place so that when he comes and finds me, I'm ready. I wish I didn't do that.
So what do you think the benefit would have been of you like dating for fun? Is it like getting to understand like what you like by dating? Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. Like getting to even know myself. So another thing that when you brought that question up that I thought about that's different now is the fact that I'm dating and going to therapy, right? Like, and so which is a whole different ball game for me because I'm getting like when I start to experience things and things that I thought that I grew from or things that I thought that I healed from are coming up as I'm dating like as a 30-year-old and I'm like, dang, like he did this. And so why did I react like that? Like what, you know what I mean? Like why did I start thinking? So now things that I thought that I healed from, I'm like, oh snap, like these are coming up. And so dating alongside therapy has been helpful because it's allowing me to get to know myself. And I wish that I wasn't just starting that at 30. Like I wish that I was able to do that back, in my 20s, either never too late. But I wish that I started because dating tells you a lot about yourself. Like like it or not, like trying to be in partnership or in relationship with somebody else reveals a lot about you. And a lot of things comes up because you're in a vulnerable position. And so doing that now in my 30s, I'm like, dang, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Like sometimes I'm just like, wow, I'm just out here. And like we just free for all. But like I wish that I had at least had that practice of like not so much focusing on preparing myself for marriage, but just growing myself, like healing from things that I needed to heal from, from the past, and just getting to become who I am outside of the scope of trying to find my person in my 20s. Like, I wish I used my 20s for growth. And we start, we're here. We're here now.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I mean? Like, if I had more time to do it, then maybe I wouldn't be out here just like, all right.
Right. Oh, but that's great that you're doing therapy. And I love like hearing this. Like, I know you mentioned that you do therapy too, because when I think of like back when we were dating 10 years ago, people didn't talk about mental health as much as they do now in therapy. And it's like, it's so important. And it's great that people are like realizing that, because it's like, how can you be a partner for someone else? Like, if you don't have yourself together, like all that trauma, all the stuff from the past, like if you don't learn how to deal with that in an efficient way, it's like, it's going to cause some conflict, right?
Exactly. It's going to come up. And for me, like my therapy, we have a whole segment. Like we get through all the good stuff, and then at the end, she's like, "All right, so how's dating?" And I'm like, "Girl, let me tell you, like we have, like it's a part of my therapy because it's so relevant for me right now."
Right.
And so I think one of the good things about dating in your 30s, hopefully, is like having the ability to like be introspective. And not just focus on, all right, here's my checklist. Is this person meeting my standards? Well, how about you? Are you meeting your own standards?
Right.
Like, what? Like, have you healed from the things that you needed to heal from? Right. So, like, I'm at the point where I'm looking more introspectively than I did when I was 20. At 20, I was like, all right, nah, he X. Now I'm like, dang, I might be the problem. Like, how do I fix this?
Man.
I think as you were talking, I'm trying to think. I don't know if I would have did nothing different.
No,
not really. I think maybe go to therapy sooner. Like, you know what I mean? Because I didn't not lashed out, but people dealt with some stuff that they didn't have. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that probably that, because my 20s were weird, because it was like first half was single in college. And, dating in college is weird because like. Just you meet somebody and then now, hey, they're inviting you to your dorm room, and I'm looking at all your lights and shit that your mom just got you from Target.
Fluffy pillows.
Yeah, fluffy pillows, and we chilling and without a care in the world. And so I go from that to like full blown committed relationship the second half of my 20s. So it's like it was like I think that it played out how it was supposed to, but that first half along the way, a lot of people were casualties of my own
facts.
Self-awareness that didn't deserve it. So I'm sorry.
But,
I think that I would have just probably went to therapy a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
That's incredible. To realize that,
Not for sure.
Yeah.
Because again, like I said, but that's why I hear it, but I also see the benefit in kind of like that, like everything happened for a reason. And it's like, even when, let's say, wanting to maybe find yourself, it's like, who's to say you'd have been receptive at that age? Like, so that's why I look at it as like, again, everything happens for a reason.
It's all about the growth.
I also would have put my refund checks into an account and saved.
My God,
for a house.
Think about what was done with the refund checks that I got.
Oh my God,
life would be this expensive. I would have started saving in middle
school.
Did
we think that we didn't have to like pay that money back?
I
think that was my thought. Like free money.
So because I did not have to pay that money back.
Oh yeah, Mr. Full Scholarship.
Yeah. So
must be nice.
I look back and I'm like, I was tripping. Like I would just not blow the whole thing, but I'll be like, man, let me just grab a couple pair of sneakers. I'll sit on this, and then obviously you spend it through the semester.
Yeah.
I would have did things completely different if I'd have known that. Even like little stuff, I'd have been like one of the people like, yeah, I'm gonna buy a house at 25 and like little stuff like that because
lessons learned
for sure.
But you also give yourself grace because we weren't really taught.
Yeah,
we were not
like economic.
No.
You know what I mean, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, all these mental health gurus and financial advisors, they came a little bit too late. Like you know what I mean.
Like when we were younger, Instagram wasn't there, right? You know what I mean. So you don't have your Instagram account and telling you which account to do and all this good stuff.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't as lucrative.
We didn't know. Like that was.
You said Instagram account.
You got a lot of Instagram financials. So
yeah, so. I guess as we get ready to wrap the show up,
Dang, that was quick.
Yeah, no, that's
time be flying.
Time flies when you have fun.
Yeah, I'm about to say that's the benefit I think of like when you're having a good conversation and like information is being passed that's actually useful. So I would ask the two of you like in this space now, like I said, having gone through everything, knowing what you know now, and being just present in this moment, I'll say for you guys, what is the bright side of dating right now?
You want to go?
It sounds like you want me to go. I got you. I would say the bright side of dating right now, as I mentioned, is wisdom. I think being able to set my intentions without putting pressure on myself, and being able to follow through with my intentions, being able to look introspectively, and therapy alongside dating. I'm trying to tell you, it's a cheat code. Like, you know, like getting to know yourself as you're getting to know other people.
Yeah.
You can't really beat that. And so I think what I wish a lot of people would see is like, you know, working on yourself doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, you can't have relationships or you can't date.
Right.
Just understanding that working is a process, and going through that process alongside someone else, it could be beneficial, even if you don't. I like to say like healing as opposed to just healed. Like I don't think anyone is ever just healed. Period.
Right.
But like as you're healing, you know, trying to work while you're doing that, trying to date while you're doing that. I think I would choose that over the opposite any day.
Yeah. Hey. You sound like you're a counselor or something like that.
Really? Gosh, I might have went to school for this.
Maybe. You wouldn't happen to have like a master's in this or something?
No, you know, I wouldn't happen to be a therapist part-time person.
Okay.
I think the bright side of dating today is getting to know somebody is when you're intentional, it's a little bit easier because of all the, you know, resources and things we have, and, you know, date options and ways to really go out and get to know them outside of, you know, a bar and hookah setting. It's, you know, it's amplified.
Yeah.
So I think we have more knowledge on getting to know ourselves, like you said, and other people. So when you really do want to get to know somebody and it's intentional, then you have all that out there for you. Like, you know, you could just plug in 10 best date spots in Philly, and then now you taking her to this little hiding spot, and you hit the door 3 times and you open it up and it's a restaurant, you eating, swinging on shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's all types of hidden, but they call it hidden gems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Around. So I think that the resources we have to get to know somebody are amazing.
That's what's up. And that's a fact. Yeah. But yeah, so I again, I definitely want to thank y'all for coming in.
Yes, thank you.
I definitely think a lot of what y'all said, like I said, especially applies to, because I feel like not that y'all are like in a different generation, but I do feel like y'all being, like I said, us getting towards like mid to late 30s, y'all have like y'all have different experiences, and I think that like y'all age group has experienced dating completely different than how we did. In the same way, we probably experienced it way different from people that are like 40, even though they only like 4 years older than us. So yeah, now I came in. I think this is going. Seems like it'd be like the first of like a series. We gotta get some more ages in here, because I do think it's important to for us to understand each other, and I think that even for like, I'll say like us, understanding like where you are and like listening to what y'all are saying, it's a lot easier for me to like, or anyone to like, let's say, give grace or like think about even how can I like help or assist, and maybe like not like you can't tell me that, or I can't listen to you saying like, oh, like, yo, like I'm learning myself and learning this other person. And I think it helps people to like maybe think before they jump into certain things, instead of like running up on you like, oh, when you getting married, when you having like stuff like that, is because I'm listening, I'm understanding where you are in this moment. And I think that that's one of the things that we as just like a community in general need to just listen to each other, so that we can be there for each other in whichever way that means that we need to show up.
Word.
More grace.
Yes, facts. So yeah, like I said, thank y'all again, and thank y'all for tuning in. Like I said, we appreciate all the support that we get.
Yes.
As usual, you can look us up on Instagram at the Bright Side Show 23. If you have any questions or want to see different topics, or like I said, even want to respond to something that was said on here, maybe you are a different age and maybe you want to be the people that come for something else, just email us at the Bright Side Show 23 at gmail.com. Again, we appreciate all support that we get. And we hope to, again, see you soon with our next episode. And remember that you can join us on the bright side from wherever you are at, because when you shine, everybody sees a little bit brighter. Hey. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.